Hello and welcome to episode 47 of Moms with Yarn. My name is Sharon, known as Bronx Knitter 1 on Ravelry and Bronx Knitter on Instagram. Welcome! Thank you for joining me today. If you're a new or returning viewer, thank you for being here. It is Sunday, August 28th, and I am a week late, and it is pretty late at night for me to be recording. But it's the weekend, and you know what happens. My neighbors, they play their music, and in order to avoid the music, I had to wait till they went to bed, so here I am. I have some knitting. I have a sock that I'm designing for a KAL in October, and I have picked up a new craft. So let's start with the finished objects. The first one I have is a paid for pattern called Piper's Journey. It's a paid for pattern on Ravelry by Paula Emmons Feasley, and I'm sure I showed this before, but I didn't show it when it was blocked, and now it's done and it's beautiful. And it was going to be a gift, but I've decided to keep it because I love it too much to give it away. It is Nooch fiber. It's a single ply yarn, and it is called The Seated Bather by Pablo Picasso. And although it looks like a tan kind of color, there are other blips of color in here, like dark brown and red and a little yellow and some pink, and none of that is showing up, but it's here. There are other colors in here, and it looks so pretty. And while I was thinking myself selfish for wanting to keep this shawl, I realized that, you know, as much knitting as I do for other people, there should be some things I keep for myself. After all, it is all my time, energy, and money spent on yarn. I like the way this looks, and I'm happy to be keeping it. I'm glad it's blocked and done. I get to wear it this winter. The only thing I regret is that I only had one skein of this when I wish I had more, because it really is pretty. So that's one shawl finished. The other one, I did this on a US 5, which is 3.25 millimeter, and I didn't make any modifications. I knit the pattern as written, which was very easy to understand, very easy to do, and I would make it again. In fact, this is already the second time I made it. The other thing I made, and I don't happen to have a copy of the pattern with me, is the Nermalin II by Heidi Alander. It is made with Malabrigo lace in the peach tree colorway. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and this is 100% baby merino. It's a single ply, and I used a US size 5 3.25 millimeter. That needle got a big workout. So you start here, and then you work your way to the first lace section, the second lace section, and the third lace section. And when you're done with the third lace section, you're supposed to start your picots. But I had so much yarn left over, I decided to add some garter rows. So I used up as much of the yarn as I could. I knew I wouldn't have enough to make one more pass, so that was it. The yarn is very soft and wonderful, but the color is not my color scheme, and so this is going to go into the Christmas box. Somebody will love it more than I do. I wasn't real happy about that one incident of pooling. It didn't happen anywhere else. But it's a good size shawl. And it's lightweight, but it is warm. So, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. So, it's well worth doing. Easy to understand. And, you know, straightforward, pretty much. So that was the second one. The third one is the Spindrift Shawl by Helen Stewart. Looks like that. And if you signed up for her newsletter, you got the pattern for free. And that's how I got the pattern for free. But if you go on Ravelry to buy the pattern, to get the pattern, you do have to pay for it now. So that was this, and I used Sweet Sparrow yarns in the Robin's Egg colorway that I got from Julie at Sweet Sparrow. And I used a US size 5 needle, again 3.25 millimeter. And it's washed, it's blocked. The only thing I didn't do was snip the ends. And the only thing I can't tell you is how much I love this. I did the pattern exactly as written, no modifications. I mean, the yarn is wonderful. The shawl is wider than it is deep, but it is beautiful color. I'm told it looks just like Robin's Egg, which is, the blue is tonal. It's kind of more like an aqua with these brown specks on it, and I think it was perfect for this pattern. You know, the only thing I don't like is blocking picot edges, but I love the way they look, so I muscled through and got the picot edges done. So it's a beautiful shawl, very well written. It is mostly garter stitch. And this is the other one I'm keeping because I love it too much to give it away. So, that's what it looks like. Very pretty. I think it's pretty on both sides, but beautiful. I love it. So it's yeah, stockinette stitch with your increases and beautiful lace on the bottom, and wide and comfortable and pretty and soft. And so this is another one I'm keeping. Now, I won't keep it if I find some more yarn in my stash that I think is just as pretty as this. It's highly unlikely that I'll find something, but oh, I just love this shawl. If you get a chance to make it, you should. So I finished that. And then I did manage to finish. Oh boy, this was going to be a tough one. I knew it was going to be tough. So Amy Lamash, who is Memers66, and she is the hostess of the Hudson Valley Knits podcast, and she put out a free pattern, and it's a cowl. And it was for people who want to try out working stranded knitting and steeking. And in my instance, I was so afraid to steek. But then I watched a video with Stacy Perry of Very Pink Knits. She has a video tutorial on how to do steeking, and the mystery was completely removed, and I became completely comfortable with doing the steeks. So I did. So this is my cowl. Now, she has diamonds on hers. Mine don't look like diamonds, but I tried. And the red that's in this part of the cowl is the red yarn that I dyed. I think if it was toned down more, it would have looked more like diamonds, but I don't know. So I did all of the knitting in the round, and then I cut it. Look at that. That's my frayed edges. So all I need to do now, I cut it, and it automatically folded back this part because I did the crochet steek, and then I added my my button band, and even that came out nice. So this is my buttons. I have the buttons already chosen. The only thing I have to do is sew the buttons on, find my grosgrain ribbon to sew over these frayed bits. I don't have to, but I want to, just for the experience of it. So that's not a bad looking bit of backside of stranded knitting. The only thing I don't really understand is this is my cast on edge, and it's stretchy and it goes back in. This is my bind off edge, and it's loose goosey, and I don't understand what happened here. I used the same needle throughout, so I don't know what happened. I don't care, because this will then just become the bottom. And I'll finish it up and hopefully get it, because her knit along, I believe, lasts through the month of August. So I have 2 days to at least put the buttons on and block it. So maybe I'll do that tonight. I'll block it tonight. So I'm so happy that I steeked. Now that sweater that's been in the bag for like 8 months can come out of the bag. It's not going to fit me anymore, but hey, at least I know what I'm doing now. I won't be so afraid to cut my fabric. And that was like my big fear. So those are my FOs and my one whip. Well, actually, there is another whip. And I didn't bring it down here, so hold on one second. Okay. So, one day when I was in knitting class, one of the ladies there, Maria, said, "Before you go, can you please give me your sock pattern?" I was like, "My sock pattern? What pattern is that?" She said, "The one in your head, the one you have memorized." I said, "You're talking about a plain vanilla sock?" She said, "Yes." I was like, I didn't invent that pattern and it's not mine. But it got me to thinking, why don't I make my own pattern? I've seen people put up socks that are simple and pretty and free. So I wrote up a pattern. I have a lot of stitch dictionaries. Why, I don't know, because it never dawned on me that I would be using any of them other than to better understand the stitch that was in somebody else's pattern. So I went to the stitch dictionary and found a pattern I liked and printed up the charts. The socks are left and right specific. I printed up the charts, and then I wrote down the instructions for people who don't like to do charts, and I came up with a sock pattern. So I did this in Lanette 100% baby wool, And I only had enough to do this one sock, so I decided that I would do this one sock to see if the pattern worked, and it did. So I went on to do it in Felici yarn in the Bubbles colorway, and that's sock number 1. The socks are left and right specific. And here is sock number 2, almost finished, but not quite. I'm almost there. And I plan to do up another pair in a variegated just to see how it will show up. So let me get this. Can you see the pattern? It's kind of zigzaggy. And came out pretty nice. I like it. I'm gonna try for one more sock out of this. This is HPKY 100% Corriedale. I think there might be enough for one sock. So we're gonna have a KAL, and we're gonna have the KAL in October. And we're going to have a giveaway, a prize for participating in the KAL. And this is Skano 100% merino yarn, and it's in the Lohengrin colorway. I had 2 skeins of it. I used one for the fireplace embers, and this is the second one. And it's nice yarn. It's squishy, it's soft, it has nice colors. And I'm going to leave it skeined up, but that'll be the prize for the knit along. And as if knitting and spinning and steeking and designing socks isn't enough, I picked up another craft along the way, and that craft is in my Maria Elena Bliss sheep bag. I love this bag. I was watching some Sadie from the Yarnivore podcast, and Patty Sands from Patty Knits and Spins, and Karen from Around the Twist do their needlework, cross stitching. And so I went to the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery and I purchased the 12 Days of Christmas, which was, they were having a sale. So that's what I got. I started, this is 14 count Aida, and I'm using my Q-snaps to hold it in place. And you can't really see much, but there's the bottom part of a swan, and it's on a pond. And this is going to be something something else. I don't know what number I'm up to, but I'm thoroughly enjoying the cross stitch, I gotta say. This is like my third attempt at cross stitch. We'll see how far I get, but it's not a rush, so we'll see. And that's it. That's everything. So I was 2 weeks late. Didn't really have a lot to talk about, but I got some stuff done. I don't know how much more stuff is going to get done because all of my time is consumed with this sock, but we'll see. Anyway, it's a holiday weekend next weekend, so I'll be home. Maybe some knitting will happen then. But until then, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Happy knitting.